when we become still, it's not trying to be something, but the moments of trusting, of the trusting heart. You know this. What's left is not imitation or artificial. It is as natural as the Tao, as resilient, as flexible, resilient as water, as forgiving as the earth. Some years ago, my old Aunt Ellen, who I'm going to go visit next week, who's 96 or 97 years old, she's an artist. When she paints now, it shakes a lot, her hand, but she still tries to paint more like Impressionism now, or whatever. Tease her about it. But she lived in Miami, not far from the Miami Zoo, which is a fantastic, one of the great zoos of America. And I'm a little ambivalent about zoos for the animals, but on the other hand, I see them as kind of ambassadors of their species to help us kind of stay connected. Anyway, where there was that huge hurricane, Hurricane Andrew, Force 5 hurricane, that swept through, completely demolished her house and that whole area, and the zoo came through. And when we went back to visit and see the wreckage, not that long afterward, and talking to people there, the zoo had a what is the wind measurer called? An anemometer? Had an anemometer that measured the wind of the hurricane up to 214 miles an hour and then blew off. And so they don't know how high, but it was really remarkable. And everything got leveled, really, pretty much. And the zookeepers were terrified for what happened to all their favorite animals. First of all, the birds were quite happy. They just left, right? The thing of the big aviary just blew off, and they said, okay, time to go to the Caribbean, they've been waiting for this. But they were worried about the bears and the big cats and, the monkeys and all these other things. And they were, now there were going to be wild animals everywhere, and that they were going to be also in trouble. They went back to the zoo, and what was remarkable is that almost all the animals were there. And they were all hunkered down under the rubble and the pushed over fences and things like that. And when the zookeepers came with food, little eyes peeked out. They were waiting for dinner, basically. And they knew, instinctively, they knew what to do, even in such a huge, amazing hurricane. And they kind of, okay, it's time to duck, right? To get down. And they did. And then the hurricane passed and it was time for, supper or whatever. There is a kind of resiliency in us as human beings, which you can see and also becomes trustworthy when we let go of the small sense of self and become the witness to all things. There's the state of awareness that is the witnessing of life, that is spacious and open and trustworthy. And what comes in it then is not self-centeredness, but connectedness, compassion, and a natural way of responding, an inner knowing, the one who knows, to whatever the circumstance, and a caring, because it's not them and me, it's us. It's us. We are appearing in all these different forms, but it's just us. It's family. So I have a friend named Milton Friedman, who used to come here to Monday night sittings some years ago. And Milton Friedman, this particular Milton Friedman, was a speechwriter in Washington. He wrote speeches for President Carter. He wrote in the White House. He wrote speeches for a couple of the senior senators in the Senate. He's not the same Milton Friedman as the Nobel Prize-winning economist at the University of Chicago, although they got confused a couple of times. And he said, in fact, he tells this great story. He was working one day in the White House in the 70s when inflation had hit its peak under Carter's presidency. There was, 19 or 20% inflation. Some of you may remember that who are old like me. Anyway, and he got a call one day from Milton Friedman. And he picked up the phone, and it turned out it was, is this Milton Friedman? He said, yes, it is. And the man introduced him. I am so-and-so, and I am the manager of the portfolio of the assets for the church, for the Catholic Church in the United States. And there's this high inflation and things not going well in the economy. And I want to get a little bit of advice from you on where you think we should put our money. And so he listened to this question, paused for a moment, and then he said, have you thought about giving it to the poor? And there was a kind of shock at the other end of the phone. And then the man said, "Is this the real Milton Friedman?" To which my friend Milton replied, "Is this the real church?" Spirituality is not like investing. You know, there's no enlightened retirement. You get some kind of plan. It is really always new. And the freedom we have, as Zen Master Suzuki Roshi said, that strictly speaking, there's no such thing as an enlightened person. There is only moments of enlightenment, one after another. Because if there's somebody to be enlightened, then you've missed it. It's not about somebody claiming enlightenment. It is the freedom that is available to us moment by moment. Less who I am, getting and becoming and possessing, where I'm going, and more the sense of this great trusting heart.